Hello and welcome to my January 2014 video game pickups video. Got quite a few games this month, mostly PS2 and PS3, plus a couple of Wii games. But it's all about quality over quantity, I guess. So yeah, we're going to start with the PS2 games. The first one I got for 150, I believe it is, in the cash converters, and that's Alone in the Dark: The New Nightmare. Now, I know this is also on the PS1, but I figured the PS2 version is probably slightly better. I don't know whether that's true or not. Never mind, like I'm probably wrong. But yeah, I remember playing Alone in the Dark: Jack is Back on the PS1 back in the day, and it was it was kind of enjoyable. And I've heard this is probably the best in the series, so I thought I would give it a shot. Now these next three PS2 games I got for £2 each. The first one being The Simpsons Road Rage. Now I did get The Simpsons Hit and Run a couple of months ago, and I beat it, and yeah, I enjoyed it. It was kind of glitchy though, and there was a lot of kind of difficult moments in that game where I sort of got really frustrated, so I ended up not keeping it. But yeah, I enjoyed it while it lasted. Yeah, The Simpsons Road Rage is more of a it's a sort of Crazy Taxi rip off, and but you get to you use a lot of characters like cars and such in the show. You get to drive a lot of the random sort of Simpsons characters around. So yeah, it's pretty entertaining for what it is. Not really much depth as far as I can tell, but yeah, it's alright. Next up we have Siphon Filter, the Omega Strain. Now I did end up getting all three Siphon Filter games on the PS1, and I saw this in the charity shop, so I thought I'd pick it up. I did also play Siphon Filter Dark Mirror, I believe it was, on the PSP, but I didn't really like that one too much because of the mainly because of the PSP's control scheme. And I didn't know it was ported to the PS2 as well, but from my experience of playing PS2 ports from PSP games, the controls stay more or less the same, and or sort of map to the PS2 controller, but you can't really change them that much. So I'm not really interested in getting Dark Mirror. I believe there was another game on the PSP that was ported over to the PS2 as well. But this one, yeah, I think from what I remember, it's like one of the last games in the series. So yeah, I look forward to playing it. Next up, we have Splashdown 2: Rides Gone Wild. Interesting story about this. I did actually rent the first Splashdown game from Blockbuster many years ago, which kind of made me a little bit sad because knowing that can't even speak. Blockbuster is closed down now, and yeah, it sort of reminded me of the sort of fairly fun times I had with the first Splashdown. The game itself wasn't amazing, but one of the things I loved about the first game was the soundtrack. It was really, really good, and this one has like a lot of it's very much like if you played Motorstorm Apocalypse on the PS3, it sort of borrowed a lot of ideas from this, where with each lap the terrain that you race in like completely changes. So yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting enough for me to pick this up. I haven't played too much of it, but it plays fairly similar to the first game. And finally, on the PS2 front, we have Silent Hill 4: The Room. Now this one I got for about a fiver, £5. And yeah, this was always the Silent Hill up until like this point in the series where I was just like, I think they should really sort of drop the whole Silent Hill thing for a little while, and it was almost like they put the Silent Hill name on this just so it would sell, because there are certain points where it really doesn't feel like Silent Hill whatsoever. It feels like a completely different game entirely. But there are moments that I did kind of enjoy watching playthroughs of, one of which is the infamous burping nurses. There's like a sort of giant staircase, and there's loads of these nurses who sort of are walking up the stairs to attack you, and then you sort of hit them, and then they sort of glitch down the stairs while sort of burping. It's absolutely hilarious. And yeah, it's an interesting game for what it is. I kind of prefer the first three, as many people do. So but yeah, I thought it was worth picking up, just to see how it is, compared to the rest. I mean, it's not as bad as Homecoming, let's face it. Okay, and on to the Nintendo Wii games. I got two here. The first one I got for about £8, and that is A Boy and His Blob, which I've been looking for quite some time for a reasonable price. It's actually based on it's actually a sort of remake of a NES game, and it's actually developed by WayForward, who most notably did the remake for DuckTales last year, so which was absolutely fantastic game. And from what I've played so far, it's kind of there's not really a lot to it. You sort of feed this blob like jelly beans, and he sort of manipulates part of the world. Sort of has a sort of you sort of throw one jelly bean, for example, it becomes like a hole where enemies can sort of drop down, so you can press forward, or you can use another one where it becomes a ladder, so you can climb up to a higher spot. And it's really cute as well. It's sort of really one of those heartwarming little games that it just makes you smile when you play it. And secondly, we have another game I've been wanting to get for some time, but the prices online are absolutely insane for this, and I managed to get this for about 15 quid in game, which I was just like, wow, really? And I won't put you in suspense any longer. The game is Xenoblade Chronicles. Now, as I said, this game I've been sort of looking for some time, but the prices range from £30 right up to say something like 50 to possibly even £60. So it's quite sought after. This one's obviously pre-owned because I got it from Game. But I'm okay with that as long as I get it. I mean, as long as the game works, that's all I care about, And as far as I can tell, this one does work, and it's quite a long game as well, which is surprising for a Wii game. But it's looks really good. With RPGs, I tend to devote a significant amount of time into playing it, so I might not get around to this for a while, because I've been playing stuff like Ni no Kuni and Blue Dragon and stuff like that in the past, so it might be a while before I get to that one. And finally, I've got 6 PS3 games here. First one is Deus Ex Human Revolution, the Director's Cut. Now, I did already get the original Deus Ex on the 360, but I had a couple of points spare on my shop2.net account, and I decided to get this, and in the end I got this around 8 quid, so yeah, I thought it was kind of worth it. It's got the two DLCs. The one you pre-order, I believe it's like Tong's mission or something like that, and the Missing Link, which was the only DLC that came was released after the game's release. And yeah, it's got stuff like commentaries and stuff like that, which is pretty interesting. Also, the boss fights have been tweaked, which was a nice bonus because the boss fights were probably the weakest part of the original game. So I'm looking forward to see what's changed in that regard. Next up, we have Katamari Forever. Now, I'm a really big fan of We Love Katamari on the PS2. It's probably one of my favourite games on the PS2 because it's so original. And I want to pick this up because of the sort of upgrade in sort of graphical and visual standards. I've heard it's it's more or less the same, which is okay with me. I got this for around £10, which is pretty good value because it's usually around 15 to 20. So yeah, not bad at all. And finally, I got these next 4 games for games like two for £20 pre-owned sale they had going on at this time. And yeah, the first game I got is Resonance of Fate. This actually came out around the same time as Final Fantasy 13, and I hear it's a lot. It turned out to be the better game, which isn't really saying much. Let's face it. And yeah, I've heard this one's pretty good. Got it recommended by a couple of friends. I don't really know too much about it other than it's like a JRPG and it's quite a cult hit. So yeah. Next up, we've got Tekken Hybrid, which comes with upgraded version of Tekken Tag Tournament, which was originally released on the PS2. Sort of prologue of Tekken Tag Tournament 2, and a movie called Tekken Blood Vengeance, which is supposed to be pretty silly, but that's okay with me. I like over the top stuff that's doesn't really take itself too seriously. But yeah, that's quite a good collection for what you get on one disc. Next up, we have the God of War collection, which has God of War 1 and 2. Again, like upgraded versions of the PS2 games. I really liked the first one. The second one I couldn't really, and this is from my experience with the PS2 games. Yeah, the first one I beat and I enjoyed it, although not as much as Onimusha 3 and Devil May Cry 3, but it was still good. God of War 2, I found it really hard to sort of get through. And I sort of gave up like around halfway through because it just felt too drawn out for me personally. But it's still good, and it kind of improves upon certain things from the first game. It just felt like God of War all over again. So yeah, for me it was kind of hard to get into. And finally, we have White Knight Chronicles 2. This did include a fully remastered version of the first game, but unfortunately, I was looking at the. It's a digital download, by the way, and the expiry date ran out. But I got this pre-owned, so it probably didn't work anyway. So yeah, another level 5 game, and yeah, I love level 5 for Assault basically. So yeah, I probably won't get around to this until I play the first one. So yeah, but it's nice to have them both in my collection finally. Okay, and that's it for my January 2014 video game pickups. I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, stay tuned for the next one. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.